All right, we are live on Ezra Live, and I got a guest here. The my very first guest that I've ever had, very first person I ever guest on a podcast with, is Broadway Joe. What up, man?
What's going on, my brother? It's always every time you invite me on. It's always a pleasure, my brother.
It feels like we haven't talked in a while.
I
feel like
know
we haven't.
it's fucking man. I'm so busy, as you know, everything going on in my life, but I haven't even been busy on these Twitter Spaces as much as I like. But I had to make space for my man Ezra.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. How's life treating you with the new baby? Because I told you that this was going to be a whole new change. I told you it's going to be drastic.
Yeah, you did a bad job. You undersold how difficult it's gonna be. Oh, like what the fuck is sleep, man? What is that?
It don't exist. It's not a real thing.
I don't know what that's like a foreign language to me, man.
Yeah, no, it is a foreign thing. And I told you 2 months. He's gotta get past the first 2 months. Life goes back to normal, right?
And
You get used to it, I guess. First
yeah,
2 months.
no, and what's funny is I have a really, really, really big baby, and the doctor said that that's good because that'll make him sleep faster, like for
Oh,
longer.
really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, I had a really small baby, so I probably went through a little worse then.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the thing I want to start off with. I'm curious your opinion on this. I kind of think I know the direction you'll go with this, but Canelo, cherry pick gone wrong with Bivol. Your thoughts on it?
No way. Come on. Who?
So I've heard multiple people say this, right? It was rumbling. Like it didn't make the main topic, on the spaces, but it was rumbling, right? Roy Jones said it today. Right. Roy Jones said it today. So
yo, listen, I got a lot of respect for Roy Jones, but like I think he might have got knocked out too many times. If that's an opinion he has, if Beterbiev fought Bivol, that would have been a cherry pick. If Joe Smith already fought him, but if Buatsi fought Bivol, that would have been a cherry pick. Like that's a ridiculous take, and I did see that on Twitter a few things. And honestly, anybody who told me that, I just kind of looked at him as a casual. I'm like, you don't know boxing. If you thought Bivol didn't have a chance in this fight, you don't know boxing. That's just you don't know boxing if you didn't think Bivol had a chance. I knew that when I got videos to prove it. I said it was a 50-50 fight. I picked Canelo, but at no point was I surprised he lost. I knew this was a fight he could lose. That's a stupid take from Roy Jones, and no disrespect to him. He's a legend, Hall of Famer, silver medalist, but nah, my man, that's false, incorrect.
Yeah, I don't see it at all. I guess what I need to know is what's your opinion of a cherry pick, right? What is your opinion of it? Because see, my definition, I said this on Twitter, is taking the easiest option at the most opportune time, right? That's to me is a cherry pick. But to me, Bivol is either the hardest option or the second hardest option at 175. See, maybe you could make a case if he went Joe Smith, then maybe I'd be like, maybe that's a case that he could say, oh, that's a cherry pick. Maybe. But if you're choosing the number one or the number two hardest guy in the weight division, I can't call that a cherry pick. It's not the popular decision that maybe you wanted, maybe people didn't want, but that's not a cherry pick. That's not even the definitions of a cherry pick. There's no definition of cherry pick that even makes sense.
I'll take it a step further. That's the hardest fight he could have took from 175 pounds south. Like, to me, I think that's a harder fight than Beterbiev. And that may be an unpopular opinion, but that was my opinion before the fight and after. That I knew that. Listen, Bivol could fight, man. He may not be the most exciting. He may not have the most personality. The motherfucker can fight. Nobody. I've never heard anybody call him a bum or anything like that. People know he can fight, and all of a sudden Canelo fight him, and people hate Canelo so much that they want to denigrate his loss and make it seem like he lost to a bum, even though the guy's undefeated, number 2 ranked in Ring Magazine, and had a belt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And I hear some people saying, like, come on, Canelo thought he was going to win that. It's like, yeah, every fighter thinks they're going to win it. I don't understand. Do you think that Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford are going to get in the ring and one of them thinks, like, oh, I'm probably going to lose this one? No, they both think they're going to win this. That's what it's a mindset of a good fighter. So the whole thing of, like, come on, he thought he was going to win that. Of course he thought he was going to win. That doesn't mean it's a cherry pick. And people are just ridiculous with these things. It's like, I'm telling you, Canelo's damned if he does or damn if he doesn't. And I've been this week, I've been called Canelo fanboy. You know, because I've been defending Canelo, because what I have to do is push back, right? I have to push back, and I'll do it for everyone. And maybe the people say I'm flip flopping, but it's not. It's just I'm in the middle, and everyone's trying to go too extreme either way, and I got to bring you back either way. And I've heard everybody putting down Canelo basically at this point. I knew it was going to happen. They're waiting for this loss to happen, and it did. It was a big loss, and it was a clear loss, and it was a loss that he didn't look competitive in at all to me, and at any point. So I understand the negative pushback, but I think we're going too extreme now. We're going too extreme for it.
Yeah, I listen. I've been watching boxing a long time, and I can honestly say I've never ever seen a boxer be hated as much as Canelo. And people may say, "Oh, what about Mayweather?" Mayweather played the villain role. You can't compare the two. Canelo is relatively a normal guy. Does he have his moments where he's a bit, aggressive or unlikable? Sure, but I don't think he plays the villain role. I don't think he has a reason for him to get this much hate on the internet. I've never seen somebody be hated so much, and yeah, and it's crazy to me. So the moment he lost, I knew the internet was gonna go crazy, but I didn't think it was gonna be this bad.
I have a question for you, right? Castano, if him and Canelo, right, met at 154, who wins that fight?
Oh, come on, man. Canelo fucking destroy him.
That's my logic, right? That's my logic. I'm getting pushback on that now, right? I'm getting a little bit of pushback. Now, no one's really willing to go out there and say it, but I'll probably do a poll this week. I'll probably do a Twitter poll this week just to show that this is how much Canelo's stock has dropped and his skill has dropped in people's eyes. That I guarantee that poll is only 10% away from each other. Either way, it's only 10% away from each other. I guarantee it, because that's the view that people have now. Because Castano losing that fight suddenly put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you knew that, but him getting stopped was suddenly he's a Hall of Fame fighter. It's weird how that works.
Yeah, and I'm not against giving fighters credit when they lose. I'm really not, because I'm a real boxing fan. I could see the the guy fought with heart. The guy just he just fought a better fighter, but like he had a very poor game plan and got knocked out. I don't see why he should be like lauded and be put in the Hall of Fame.
Well, the thing is funny is that he actually had a worse performance than the first fight.
Yeah, I thought he won the first fight. I thought he won.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was a better performance in the first fight, right? But this one, it seems like he's getting way more credit for this one than he is in the first fight.
I don't get it. I really don't. It just shows people's hate first. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's just people inconsistency. That's probably the best way to put it. People are very inconsistent. The guy got knocked out, and to be honest, it wasn't a competitive fight. I forget my exact scorecard, but at one point, I think I gave the first 6 or 7 rounds straight to Charlo.
Yeah,
So,
I had Jermell up pretty big. I had him up pretty wide. I thought it was a competitive fight, but I didn't think it was a close fight. I thought that it was pulling away. But like I said, when I was scoring it, I was also marking down what rounds were kind of close. That I thought maybe you could make an argument for the other guy, because I kind of getting tired of like the whole robbery theme. That's the theme that everybody plays now. It's like, oh, it's a robbery. It's a robbery. It's just like it's just a close fight. Another thing I'm noticing is that we don't count close fights anymore. So if a guy has 10 good wins, but they're all close fights, and you can make an argument the other guy won, those don't count anymore. It has to be definitive. So these are new rules that I'm learning from boxing Twitter, that what counts and what doesn't.
It's crazy, man. Like I try my best to keep it as unbiased as possible. I announce my biases towards Dominican fighters, but I'm never unrealistic with my.
You're very public with it, though. You're very public with it.
I'm public, but I'm realistic with my takes. I never say anything outrageous. I'm a Canelo fan. I'm a Teofimo fan. But again, I, to my knowledge, never said anything ridiculous about either one of those two either. There's certain fights I think they win, certain fights I think they lose, and I just keep it moving like that. But some people, they don't look at it like that.
I'll tell you, this week I got called a Canelo fanboy, and I also got called criticizing Canelo too harshly, more than I do other fighters. So I'm in the middle. I mean, that's why I changed my name on Twitter to the middleman, because that's what I am. I'm the middleman to everything.
It's definitely listen, man. If you listening to this and you don't have a Twitter account and you're a boxing fan, just know you better have a strong backbone. You better be a tough dude. This motherfucker's gonna come at your head and
I don't know. Were you on MVL space last night, yesterday?
nah, I
So
wasn't.
MVL space was the worst boxing Twitter accounts, right? That's what it
Mhm.
was. So everybody was calling out everybody. And so I'm just listening. I'm enjoying it. I'm like, this is pretty good. It's like, there if you kind of follow the spaces that I'm in, you kind of will know that the ones that are going to be the negative the negative Twitter accounts that were voted in. But surprisingly, right, I'm just laying back. My name was thrown in there, but it was an anonymous DM, and the group agreed they didn't agree with the decision, but I still had to get in there to defend my name. So you know me, I'm not going to sit back in a space where my name's being brought up and not talk. So had to get in there and defend my name. Uh, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's boxing Twitter for you. That's it. That's a welcoming right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I listen. I respect your boxing knowledge. I wouldn't be on the space on your. I mean, maybe I would just to troll you if I didn't respect your boxing knowledge, and also, and I know you'd like to minimize your boxing experience because you only have one professional fight, but to me, that actually means something to me. You sparred Peter Quinn, you sparred Zulda Ramirez and Nishida, and all these guys. So when you say something, even if I disagree, I'll respect the opinion because I know you got your nose broken before, you got your orbital bone broken before, and you've really been in the ring. You've really punched people in the face. You've really been punched in the face, and you may have some insight that I may not know. So I'm always very conscious that I'm speaking to a former fighter. Oh,
I
it's only one fight, but yeah, it was one more than me. You
I
know.
appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. I do want to correct one thing though. I never sparred Peter Quillen. I know why this confusion though. I told you that me and Quillen, I kind of didn't like Peter Quillen when I was in the gym, but I never sparred him. So I did want to fix that. I
Oh,
did spar the other guys you named, but not Peter Quillen.
I could have sworn you told me that he was talking shit to you
He
while
did. No, he
sparring.
did. No. He was talking shit to me in the gym, but it wasn't about sparring or anything like that. I don't know why he's negative towards me. I didn't get it. I think because we're in the same weight. I think we're the same weight, so maybe he was just like, pissing on the ground kind of type thing. But yeah, no. I never sparred Peter Quillen.
Well, he dug Triple G, so that's it. I just want to say that on the spit with I mean on your channel.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We got fights this weekend. Any excitement for any of the fights?
Well, I'm Dominican, so I'm very, very excited for the Luis Reynaldo Nunez versus Jonathan Fierro. This is like a hardcore fight. Not many people know both these fighters, so if you listen to
I'm
this,
gonna be honest with you. I don't know either of these fighters. Maybe
yeah,
if I see them, but I don't know. I'm not familiar.
no, you may not know. You actually, the only one you may know is actually the Dominican. He headlined a showbox like in January, February. He was the headliner.
Who do you fight?
He fought another undefeated fighter, a Puerto Rican kid named Carlos Arrieta.
Yes, I thought Ariel was gonna win that fight actually because I was like Ariel's pretty skilled, but this guy was like he was superior to him. Like as far as athletically, ability wise, he was far superior than the other kid.
So this fight, I'm predicting like a really fun fight that's gonna steal the show. Both fighters are punchers. Both fighters are offensive fighters. Both are undefeated. One's 18, the other one's 22. These are young guys trying to make a statement. So when you're young, you may make unnecessary risks, and which could lead to an exciting fight or possibly an exciting knockout. I'm like, if you are hardcore like me and you're familiar with both these guys' styles, at least I am. This fight could steal the show. You may be talking more about this fight at the end of the night than you will the. And by the way, this is on the David Lemieux undercard.
Yeah, this is the opening bout. I'm guessing.
Yes, it's the opening.
Okay.
David Lemieux, David Lemieux, David Benavidez.
Yeah, so this is this is like kind of like the promotion of the Dominican fighter because he's come from Showbox. Now he's on the main card. So this is like his graduation into like the top upper echelon of the fighting. I guess that's right.
And you know what's funny? I need you to believe me, and I'm being dead serious. I wasn't doing this on purpose, but I actually have an interview with him lined up already.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I was going to interview him before, but I just told him it make more sense if I interview him after. So, I'm predicting he's going to win by knockout. So I'm hoping he has a pretty impressive performance. This will be his third undefeated fighter in a row. And so it's already in the books. It's just a matter of him winning, and then we'll figure out a day that works for him and works for me, and I'll interview him.
You have any excitement for David Benavidez fight versus Lemieux?
Absolutely not. David Benavidez. Well, honestly, I'm not a big David Benavidez guy. Like, people want to make it seem like, oh, Canelo's ducking him, and he's the toughest test for Canelo. Like, I think that's an easy fight for Canelo. Not to bring him up, I'm just saying, like, I'm not really excited. He's shown dedication problems with missing weight and sniffing coke. I'm not a huge David Benavidez fan. I do think he smokes David Lemieux. David Lemieux is somebody who's been knocked out by Rubio, been knocked out by Triple G, and it's not the same fighter he was 8 years ago. I think Benavidez will beat him, but I'm not too necessarily excited about it because I'm not as high on Benavidez as other people are.
Yeah, yeah. I like David Benavidez. I think he's a good fighter. I think he has potential. I'm not all for like this is the guy that like Charlo just cleaned out 154, right? He just cleaned it out. Now, always there's going to be contenders like coming up that he could challenge. Yeah, they'll always be there. They'll always be there. But I'm not going to say like, oh, he's ducking one of these guys now. It's like, no, he just cleared out the whole weight division of the guys that were there currently when he started this whole thing, right? He cleared it all out. So now to me, he could take a tune-up. He go to 160, do where the hell he wants. He's not ducking anyone for at least for a short period. Then it restarts, and then he's got to beat all the challengers again if he stays at 154. Canelo cleared out the belts, right? That's what he did. He cleared out all the belts. If that's obviously what he was going for, he became undisputed. Now we can't say like, well, we still don't know if he's the best guy at 168 because he had David Benavidez there. It's like, no, he cleared it out. He's going to do his own thing now. When he comes back, Dave Benavidez will be there. Then they can figure that out. But to me, it's not like, oh, he's ducking Dave Benavidez or Dave Benavidez is the clear 1A to 1B to Canelo. No, he's number 2 because Dave Benavidez has never done anything to show that he's the guy at 168 or he's the guy that Canelo, the clear contender to Canelo. I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything to put him past Plant. I haven't seen that. I just haven't. Lemieux's I don't think Lemieux's going to prove it.
I think Plants beat Benavidez, man.
I kind of lean that way too. I think that he would outbox him. I think Benavidez's legs aren't great, and I think that if he has to chase Plant, he might get frustrated all night. I really do think that. But I think Lemieux's perfect for Benavidez to look good, to look impressive. I think the interesting though is that they both give each other what they want. They both want to fight on the inside. They both want to. They're both not looking to chase someone. They kind of want to get in on someone and let the shots go. They're both going to have the opportunity in this fight. So for Lemieux, who I don't think is going to win this fight or has a chance to win this fight, I think he at least was going to have opportunity to apply his game in this fight. So I am curious to see how that looks early.
I will say this about David Lemieux: the guy can fucking crack. So
he can. That left hook is no joke, and he's been knocking people out 168 since being there. Because I looked at his last 3 fights. One of them was like a pretty damn good fight. He did drop the guy. He also got dropped in that fight, and then the other 2, he kind of just slept the guys really quick with the left hook.
Yeah. So I give him a puncher's chance. I remember he knocked out my one of my Brooklyn natives, Curtis Stevens, and I actually have a funny
good
Curtis
fight
story if you want. I'll share. Yeah. But yeah, when he knocked him out, that like I was scared for Curtis Stevens. Like he was, I thought he was no longer with us. He was gone for like. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they took him on the stretcher. He was knocked out the whole time.
Yes, I think so. I remember that correctly. Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty scary knockout. Thank God he's okay. But yeah, so the guy can crack. Benavidez is there to be hit, so I'm not going to dismiss his chances of landing a crazy wild left hook and knocking him out. But
do you have a Curtis Stevens story?
Oh yeah. So I actually used to train with his nephew. His nephew I was like about 21, and his nephew was about 8, 9, 10 years old. And we had the same trainer. And so I knew the kid's mother was Curtis Stevens. Not his sister, it was his cousin, but she called him his nephew. So she was like, me and her, we were cool. She was a sweetheart. And one time she told me, she was like, you know why Curtis Stevens never became champion? I was like, nah. And she was like, One time he gave me $20 and he told me to go to the store and buy him 20 Twix.
On the dot.
Yo, I'm like, and she's like, yeah, like I told him no, I'm gonna buy him 5 and I'm gonna bring him back $15. And he was like, no, like real adamant, like no, he wanted 20 Twix. Like I, she told me she ended up buying it. She didn't see him eat it like one by one, but she was like, who buys 20 Twix at a time? Like
Telling you, under thought about thing is like these guys that kind of get out of shape between fights. They have to basically use their whole camp to get in shape, so they can't really improve their game. They're just kind of hoping to get back to where they were at.
no,
And like,
and to your point, Curtis Stevens was a really talented fighter,
mhm.
man, and had a lot of power, and he was just undersized, and part of that undersized for his weight, excuse me, and part of that was he was fighting above his weight class. He was fighting at super middleweight, and then eventually moved down to middleweight. But to me, he was kind of built kind of like in a Sean Porter kind of way. Sean Porter debuted at 168 as well. And he worked his way down to welterweight. To me, if Curtis Stevens really, really was dedicated to boxing, he should have went and found a way, get down to welterweight and compete at that level. And then maybe, when he outgrows 147, fight at 54. And that was where he should have maxed out. But
Yeah, it looked like that's where it looked like he was in the wrong weight class.
yeah. But he was talented though.
He was.
He was.
He had like really good fights too. Very entertaining fights to say the least. He had very entertaining
He
fights.
has some highlight reel knockouts coming up in the game. It was like pretty. He was pretty big deal here in New York when he was coming up.
I think that's why like boxing is a full-time job. I think we look at it like like you have 3 fights a year, or 2 fights a year, or even one fight a year. But it's a full-time job. You got to stay in shape because you don't want to have the wheels fall off in between camps. That's like I think that's the detriment to like a lot of fighters.
No, I absolutely, I totally agree with you.
And that's a kind of leads me to like what I was gonna want to talk about next was Jermell Charlo, like proving, right, because Jermell Charlo like didn't move up in weight, right? He's not going up a bunch of weight classes. He's kind of just dominating his one weight class. And I think that we kind of at this point of boxing and like our logic to it, we kind of overrated or just put like too much value, I think, in going up in weight classes. Like, oh, this guy's done it over 3 weight classes. And then I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, well, what names has he beat though to do that? You look at Jermell Charlo, and he's just cleaning out the guys he has 154. And he's been fortunate enough to have some quality names there and some worthy competition, right? Hasn't had the Jermall Charlo problem where he's at middleweight and there's no one to fight. He's had that. And I think that there's this creates a new path to me. Or maybe, it's always been there, but now it's like we can appreciate a guy that just dominates his own weight class.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, with Bernard Hopkins had 20 defenses of his middleweight.
160.
Yeah, 160. Triple G has had his whole career at 160. Spence, as of right now, has had his whole career at 147. There are guys who do it. Also, Marvin Hagler stood
Marvin Hagler, 160.
160 for a long time. Looks like 160 people tend to stay there for a while. I mean, that is one of the glamour divisions, so maybe that has something to do with it. Who else for that at a weight class for a long time? I mean, there are guys who do it, but I'll disagree with you. You do get extra credit if you become champion, especially if you become lineal champion in different weight classes, because it shows that you're moving up and you're fighting bigger guys and you're still having success against bigger guys. And although, yes, obviously who you beat is important and that definitely has more importance than a belt, especially with these sanctioned by how ridiculous they are. But still a bigger guy, still a professional fighter, especially if they're ranked or if undefeated or something like that, and you're fighting a guy who's naturally bigger than you and you beat him. To me, then you get extra credit for that.
I agree with you, and then I kind of don't, because here's how I'll say it, right? Some people's bodies are just different, right? Like some people are still growing, say like at a certain point, right? They're still growing, they're still becoming a bigger person. Like Manny Pacquiao, you can't say like he went up in weight, but he wasn't growing. No, he was growing because he definitely can't come back down in all those weights he was, right? So he's definitely got bigger as a person. Right, like Manny Pacquiao was never at 147 saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight at 140 or 135 again, like I used to." No, he became a bigger person. And some people don't do that. Like some people just stay the size they are. So they can't so I think you're kind of like we're kind of grading them differently just because their bodies are different than another guy's body. And another thing is like, okay, I'm a little bit critical of Terrence Crawford's resume. Right, I'm a little bit critical of it because to me his best fight is what Sean Porter, top three: Sean Porter, Gamboa, and Postal. Right, that's his top three. It's not a great top three at all. Like if you tell me, and I don't care what weight classes he did that. I don't care what level weight classes. Moved up multiple weight classes. Adrian Broner moved up multiple weight classes. I don't give a damn really about any win on his resume.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so I just think that okay, that it's fine, but some guys are growing different, or some guys are doing it early in their career, so they're able to go multiple weight classes. To me, it's just the names you're doing it. So if you can stay in one weight class, and like say Jermell stays at 154, right, and he goes through Fundora, goes through Zoo, gets the winner of Spence Crawford, and then you have that's a hell of a run right there. Those three right there, adding on top of what he's already done, he's basically probably could make his claim to being the best guy of all the guys we've been talking about this whole time. He could be like, I'm the guy now, right? And it's if let's just say I don't know, in a way goes to 122 and then goes to 126, but doesn't fight any of the top guys, but just starts just beating guys at the weight classes. I mean, it's not that impressive to me. It's like, okay, that's fine, but you're not beating the names. I only care about the names. I'm at that point now. I'm only care about the names. I think I've always been there, but now I'm really settled in as I only care about the names.
No, listen, I'm not gonna dismiss that point because that definitely I understand where you're coming from as far as with the names. Like it's important who you beat and how you beat them and when you beat them, and there's a lot of variables to wins. It's not just oh, this guy was bigger than you and you beat him, so you get extra credit. It's like no, well, did you fight him at catch weight, or was this guy? Was this guy a Hall of Fame guy? Was this guy a two-time champion? Like who was it? Was he in his prime? Was he out of his prime? There's a lot of variables to certain wins, but I do think that yes. You have mentioned like, oh yeah, they're growing as well, so they're not fighting a smaller guy, a bigger guy, because then themselves are growing. So now they're the same size as the person they moved up against. I'll disagree in the sense that if somebody pro debuts at 147 and somebody pro debuts at 130 and ends up moving up to 147, yes, although currently they're the same size, they grew to that as opposed to no, I'm already this size and this is my natural weight. This is how big I am naturally. You had to grow into this. So there's a certain level of I'm stronger than you, and it's naturally, and that's why when people move up in weight, their power tends to go down. Look at Floyd Mayweather.
But see, that's the exact example I was going to use. Exact example. Okay, if I'm going to give you the credit for going up in weight, right? If I'm going to give you the credit for that, like okay, Canelo, right? He went to 175, but he's going to go back to 168, right? Because 175 is not his weight class. So to me, I'll give that more credit because I'm like, no, he's letting you know that's not his weight class because he's going back down. But if you go up to that weight class and you never come back down, I can't give you credit because I'm like, no, that's your natural weight class now. Now, Floyd Mayweather went to 154, but he would come back down to 147. So he would let you know he's undersized at that weight class. He's making it, but not really because he's a 147-pound fighter. He could still make 147. So I say if you give me a guy like we were talking about him last time, Henry Armstrong, right? Henry Armstrong went all the way up to middleweight. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
He came back down after that. He had the fight at middleweight, but came back down. See, that shows me that he was actually going beyond his means of his weight because he was able to come back down. See, these guys that go up and they can't come back down. Like if you look at Danny Garcia, I always thought Danny Garcia, I was like, why don't you just stay at 140? He couldn't make 140 anymore. He was a natural 147 now. Did he diminish at 147? Yes. But I can't. I'm not going to do grade it on a scale because I think he's a smaller guy. No, he just wasn't good enough to keep it up at 147. It is what it is. You know where he's going next? He's trying to go to 154. So that just tells me he's getting bigger.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't advise that, man. I think Danny Garcia should retire, man.
I actually don't hate Danny Garcia versus Jermell Charlo in Houston. A homecoming fight for Jermell, big name. I don't hate that fight.
Yeah, I mean the thing is with me and Danny, he had a really good 140 run, moves up to 47 and loses to all the top guys. All right, that's fine. I'm not even gonna criticize him because in boxing people lose. But you can't beat the top guys at 147 and you're gonna move up to 54. Like, bro, just retire. You made a lot of money. I saw an interview, I didn't see an interview, excuse me. Uh True from A Side Boxing Talk, he
Hmm.
told me that he saw an interview with one of the Heyman guys, like one of the guys that works for Heyman, and that he said that the only guy at PBC that's made more money than Danny Garcia is Deontay Wilder. So the guy's made a lot of money. You've been
Yeah, he
on
does.
a
Yeah.
long layoff for God knows for what reason. I'm not aware of any injury or legal problems he's having. It's like, bro, you haven't been in the ring because you don't want to be in the ring. If that's happening to you at this stage of your career, just hang it up. You made a lot of money. You had a really good career, 2 division champion. Just walk away and call it a day.
Yeah, it's he hasn't been like beaten too badly to where he's like unhealthy, or you know what I mean? Like he could still be competitive with good guys. I don't think 154 is the weight for him. I think that's like a real reach because he didn't really have power. To me, I mean, a lot of people question this, but I don't think he had great power at 147. I think his game kind of depends on him having power. So I think at 154 that'd be even worse for him. But if it's a Jamel Charlo fight, he get a big payday for it. Jamel gets a big payday, and it's a homecoming fight. I don't hate that. I've got, I usually I'm against stuff like that. I don't hate that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm against it because again, I think his heart isn't fully in boxing. If I knew for a fact that he was in there sparring, like Crawford, he's invested in boxing, man. He's
Yes.
sparring all these young guys, consistently always in the gym. Boots, I just saw a video. I follow his father on Instagram. I just saw that Boots is in the gym now. He just fought this Saturday. He's in the gym now. There's certain guys who are just consistent. They hungry. They want it. And Danny's not one of them right now. Danny is somebody who's made his money. God bless him. I'm not even, when I say I want him to retire, it's not saying that I don't think he can necessarily make more money or make some kind of noise in boxing. I do think he can make some kind of noise, but I don't think he can be world champion at 54. And I don't see the reason why he should take punishment. He hasn't had any serious injuries. You made a lot of money. It's pretty clear that you can't compete against the top guys now. Just walk away, call it a day, man.
Yeah, I think so. And it seems like he's made a lot of investments, and he seems like he's on top of his stuff. So yeah, you're 100% right. I think he can be lured with big paydays, but I think 154 is a real stretch on whether he could do anything there because he couldn't do anything 147 like against any of the top guys. To me, he would be competitive and then fall apart late because I think that was the size. I think that was the size difference on that. Um, we do have to talk about, my boy Janabek. We do have to talk about my boy Janabek. It's Janabek fight week. I don't think that there's like I'm getting in on like a band who's just performing like in backyards. I get it, right? But I know they're gonna be great, right? I know this is an all-time great band. I know they're about to do amazing things, and no one appreciates them yet, but me. But Janabek fight week, we got to really talk about it. I think this guy. Look at, I understand, right? We get it. It's a little bit, it's a little bit it's hard. It's blurred lines whether this is a joke from me or I really believe what I'm saying. Sometimes I forget. I really don't know. I really don't know what I believe or whether what's real and what's not. But I tell you this, I think he could be the most talented fighter at middleweight. I think I wouldn't be surprised if all the guys that are at middleweight currently, he becomes out the top guy. That would not stun me. And that doesn't, maybe that speaks more to the division than it does Janabek. But I think this guy has a lot of ability. I think he's very skilled. Um, I think that he's going to destroy Diggum. I think Diggum's going to dig him his own grave this weekend. What do you think? What do you think of Janabek? How are you feeling about him?
Yo, bro, when you invited me on your podcast, I was like, I know for sure that's the first thing we're gonna talk.
No, it wasn't. You got to save that. That's my main event. That's like you've saved that one.
In the back of my head, I was like, all right, let me get ready for this Janet back talk. But I'm surprised then you threw me off when you was asking me all these other questions. I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, listen, Janet back, I'm not as high as on him as you are. I don't think he's a bum. I'm not gonna say that. I can see him becoming a world champion, but Like I'm not as high. Like you look like you sound like you really think he can make noise. Like he could, you know, do a lot of things in boxing. I have to see a little bit more. I'm not even dismissing he can't be that. I just haven't seen it yet. That's why I always tell people I got to see a little bit more. And when they ask me like, "Oh, what do you think of this prospect?" And people get upset, that I always say I got to see a little bit more against a little bit tougher competition. I know he beat Rob Brandt, who was a former world champion, but I was never really high on Rob Brandt, to be honest with you. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie like I'm some super hardcore. I never heard of Digger. Like who that guy is, I've never heard of him. I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he's bad. He could be a fucking all-time great for all I know. I never seen him, and this fight does have significance. Although I know you don't like the belts.
I don't give a damn about the belts. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't give a damn.
but
But
it
I
does.
do think Janabek is going to win the belt. It's because no one's going to fight him. I think a lot of that has to do with his skill. I think a lot of that has to do with you're not going to make any money fighting Janabek.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he got. Listen, Munguia had the opportunity to be in this fight because the WBO was mandating the number one guy to fight the number two guy for the WBO interim. Janabek is number two. Munguia is number one. Munguia opted not to do that, so they put the number two guy against the number three guy, which is Janabek versus Diggum. That's why this fight is happening, for me to break down for the casuals listening. And the winner of this fight is either going to become Boo Boo Andrade's mandatory if Boo Boo decides to stay at 160, and if he doesn't, then the fighter will automatically be elevated to WBO middleweight champion. So there'll be a champion. So this is somewhat a very important fight for both fighters.
I do want to say one thing too. You say you didn't know who Dignam is, and I don't know who Dignam is. I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly. I'll be honest with you, but I watch about, I would say, close to 9 hours of boxing every Saturday, maybe even 10. I think it might be 10, 11. Honestly, I really do. And now maybe I watch it all together at once because I have like 3 screens or 4 screens on it at all times. If I don't know who you are, that's your fault. It's not my fault. I realize that now. So I used to feel bad about not knowing these names. No. It's their fault that I don't know them, not mine. I'm putting the work in. I'm putting the time in to watch these fights. If you can't make one of my screens, one of my 4 screens on a Saturday, that's your fault, not mine. Dignam's going to graduate to me knowing him. It'll probably end there with Janabek, but I'm not going to take the blame anymore. I'm getting tired of like this whole casual talk. I promise you, I'm not a casual. I promise you, I'm not. I watch a lot of boxing. If I don't know you, that's your fault. You're not grabbing my attention. And I'm getting tired of. I kind of get tired of the people, like naming these obscure fighters and like using that as their knowledge. I don't give a damn who the hell these guys are that can't make a TV screen. Right? There's never more boxing cards ever on, and these guys can't make a main card. I'm sorry. I'll when they graduate, that's when I'll watch them. When I'm not into college football, I'm not into college basketball. I watch the pros. That's what I watch.
If I have to risk my computer getting a virus to see your fight, I may not watch it, man. I may not just watch it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I see guys bring up guys and they're like, watch, he's going to be a world champion. When he gets there, I'll watch him. I guarantee I'll see him when he gets there. But
one prospect that I'm high on, I've only seen him fight once, and I saw him fight live, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit biased, is Henry Lebron. He's a Puerto Rican 130-pound fighter, man. I saw him fight in the Edgar Berlanga undercard. He's such a smooth southpaw, just very smooth skills, very fast hands, undefeated fighter. And then I saw another fight of his on YouTube. I only saw one other fight. So I've seen him fight twice, once live, once on YouTube. And he's popped on my screen. Well, he's popped on the screen, and then it really impressed me when I saw him live. And that's somebody who I'm like, okay, like I want to see a little bit more of him. He's going to be fighting on June 11th on the Berlanga undercard again, the eve of the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Okay.
And it's somebody who I'm like, I put it like a little gold sticker next to his name. Like, I'm not necessarily stamping you as like the next big thing, but I definitely want to see more of you. And he's in the early running for me for prospect of the year, as far as that, but just based off that one performance.
Okay. That's not. See, there you go. There's someone to watch out for. I'll watch him when he stops beating guys that are 0-6. But when he gets there, I'm ready for him. I remember you told me. I remember you told
Wait,
me.
hold on. Let me see who the guy, what record the guy he's fighting this weekend. I mean, in June. But anyways, yeah. While I look that up, you could go on.
Oh yeah, well, just let me tell you something. Like I said, Dignam's graduating. He's gonna get smoked by Janibek. He has no right to be in there with Janibek. Besides the crooked sanctioning bodies, which allow things like this to happen. But if without the sanctioning bodies, Janibek wouldn't really ever have an opponent. So there's pros and cons to all these things. Like I said, I think Janibek might be the best middleweight in the world. I really do. I don't think he's. But I will say this, right? Because I'm all about resumes and all about you got to prove it. He hasn't proved anything. He's being the guy he's supposed to be. To me, he's done it in the fashion he's supposed to do it. He is not going to rush his work, so sometimes it gets boring because it's so one-sided. That he'll be judged critically on that. People are not going to want to give him credit. A lot of the talk I'm doing maybe is a lot of reason why people are not going to want to give him credit, but he's not going to get the credit unless he absolutely does it against really good guys, right? So this weekend, I don't expect a lot of credit from him. I think that he tears this guy apart. I think it probably goes honestly about 8-9 rounds because he's so super cautious. He's not giving away anything. He's not he doesn't care what the crowd thinks. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. This guy's a axe murderer. He's a psychopath, and he's in there to go do damage and get a win and do it effectively and prolong it if he has to. But that's what he's going there to do, and he will do it this weekend. All hail King Janibek. Go ahead, sir.
Do you any value in Ring Magazine's rankings or not?
Yeah, they seem pretty legit. I mean, I look at them; they seem pretty good. I did hear one of the main guys. Was it Dougie Fisher, right, or Douglas Fisher, whatever the hell his name is? He was arguing for Lomachenko in the pound for pound. I can't that I'm like, no, I can't do that. But I could do the rankings seem pretty legit. Like as far as divisional, yeah, I like them.
Yeah. All right. Well, Janibek is ranked number 6.
Okay.
I would love to see him fight the number 8 ranked fighter in Carlos Adames, my Dominican brother.
See, I love that.
You want to pop on my screen? You want me to talk about you on my Listen, that's a good fight.
I love that
Carlos
fight.
Adames is coming off. Carlos Adames is coming off his biggest win against Sergey Deverenchenko, who's only lost to Danny Jacobs and Triple G. And you can make an argument he beat Deverenchenko better than both those guys, especially Triple G. I like that fight. It's not too hard of I guess, for top rank to put him in the ring, and it's also not too difficult. Too easy of a fight where it's like, come on, man. Like, of course he's gonna blast and knock this guy out in one round. I like that fight.
What's their top 10? What's their top 10 in middleweight?
All right, hold on. Let me pull it up. It is number 1. They have Gennady Golovkin.
Okay,
number 2, they have Jamal Charlo. Number 2.
Okay.
Bubu Andrade. Number 3. Jaime Munguia. Number 4. Chris Eubank Jr. Number 5. Janibek. Number 6. Murata. Number 7. Carlos Adames. Number 8. Sergey Deverenchenko, number 9, and Felix Cash, number 10. And by the way, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go.
No, I was gonna say I couldn't find the opponent for Henry Lebron. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it, but I know he's on the card.
Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out for him. He'll probably be in the prelim, so I'll see him. But that middleweight division. The thing is, it has names. That's the thing. They just don't fight each other. Like, that's why it's so weak, because no one fights each other. There's a lot of reasons why that happens. But yeah, I can't see like anyone that's like a clear number 1 over Janibek. I really don't. Like, as far as if you match them up, I couldn't be like, oh, this guy's gonna run through Janibek. Like an old Golovkin's gonna run through Janibek. I kind of find that hard to believe. Charlo, who had problems with Korobov, like he's gonna run through Janibek, and Korobov's kind of a weaker version of Janibek, right? Like, he's gonna have problems with Janibek. I mean, he's gonna beat Janibek and run through him. I don't think so. I think that's a close fight. I think that I maybe favored Charlo in that fight, but I think it's very close. I think I slightly maybe favored Charlo in that fight. I'm telling you, this guy. For all jokes aside, all my my emotions and heart aside, I think this dude. I think he's gonna look at this weekend, and I think that slowly the rumblings are gonna be like, hey, this guy might be the best guy middleweight.
Hey man, he will again. I always bring up belts because they and we could get into why I always stress the importance of it. But when you get a belt, you get opportunities. So after this belt, and let's say Boo Boo decides to move up to 160, I'm 168, he'll become a world champion, and then he'll have incentive to get Gennady Golovkin in the ring to unify, get a Jamal Charlo in the ring to unify, and get also these contenders, like whether it be Chris Eubank or Carlos Adames or Murata, whoever, Munguia. It gives people incentive to fight him. So I hope he impresses for your sake, and and again, if he wins this fight, he will be getting more opportunities than he was in the past. He just has to fight a little bit more often.
I'm telling you, for everyone's sake, don't let this man become number one at middleweight. And I don't even care how he gets it. If he gets it just by Triple G retiring, Charlo moving up, Andrade moving up, do not let this man become number one at middleweight, because I won't stop. It'll only get worse. I mean, I literally just posted a picture with me having the same facial hair as him. You think, like, what do you think I'm willing to go with this? Because I can go really far with this.
Bro,
I'm telling you right now.
It would be hilarious, man. You got to get that man on the show. Now that he's not. No, even now, man. Listen, just DMing guys, honestly. Like, you'd be surprised how many respond, especially since he probably doesn't have as many followers as he is gonna have if he does become number one. So if I'm you, I go to Google Translate. I'll type in what
I wouldn't even Google Translate. I mean, I would Google Translate to get him on the show, but I wouldn't even get a translator for him on the show. That's the thing. I wouldn't even do that. I would let him talk in his native tongue, and I wouldn't even care what his answer is. I wouldn't even tell you, because you would just have to show the respect to him. Just be like, I know what he said was powerful, and I just want you to feel through the emotions of what he said.
Does he speak English?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. I highly doubt it. I'll tell you that right now. I highly doubt it. But I don't. It doesn't matter. He speaks with his fists. That's the thing. It's not the WBA here where we're gonna have a speech. You know what I mean? He's not. There's not. This is not a man that's gonna give a speech to get a title shot. He will earn it with his fist.
Bro. It's hilarious. Your fucking love for this guy, man. For your sake, man, I hope he is good. Except when he fights, if and when he fights Carlos Adames, I can't root for him then. But hopefully, because your channel definitely will grow, because I can honestly say you're the only person on boxing Twitter, the only person, honestly, that I've met, period, that is this high on Janibek. So
that's sounded. It's a good thing. It's a grassroots movement. It's a slow build, slow burn, but I know it's going to pay off in the end. I have no doubt about it.
I can't wait for you and Ty to go at it back and forth.
Oh, I can't wait for that. That's great content. Him having Boo Boo, me having Janibek, it's great content. But you know what's going to happen, right? Boo Boo's going to run for the hills. The man that's the most avoided, right? What happens when the boogeyman in your eyes runs from the actual boogeyman? That's the thing that no one realizes, is the person that you think everybody's afraid of is afraid of the guy that I'm telling you about. That makes you rethink everything you thought you knew.
The thing about boxing, though, is that a lot of times when fights don't happen, it's not necessarily one guy is ducking the other. Is one guy's not a draw. The promotional company, he's on Top Rank, and right now he's with the Zone, but he's probably going to go back to PBC. So there's a lot of politics in boxing, as you know. But
the one thing, again, before you keep going though, you're letting the facts get in the way of a good promo. That's the problem. You can't let the facts get in the way of a good promo, right? You can't let that happen. And I won't let that happen on this show.
I will say this. If Boo Boo Andre decides to stay at 160, that belt that you don't care about will help him get the opportunity, because he will be his mandatory. And again, if you don't fight your mandatory, you get stripped. And since certain fighters value the belt, which Andrade obviously does, he will have to fight him, and he will have to prove to people, okay, who's the better of the guy?
That's what I'm saying. Well, the belts are only good if you use them as bait. That's it. That's all they should be. You know what I mean? I don't put no appreciation in the worms I use when I fish, right? And I don't even fish. I just use that example. But when you buy worms, I don't appreciate them. I put them on my hook and I throw it in there so fish come and get it. That's what a bout is to me. It's bait to get someone in the ring with Janibek.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. that belt you don't care about is gonna be beneficial to him if Boo Boo decides to stay at 160.
There is one last fight I do want to talk about before we get off this page. I mean page, YouTube or podcast, whatever the hell this is. And I appreciate you doing it. But we have Botsy versus I believe Craig Richards. And if the reason this fight's important is because Bivol just beat Canelo. There's no road undisputed right now because two guys across the street. There's a lot of politics in that. We got to see if the Canelo rematch eventually happens. So Bivol needs an opponent. Botsy seems to be the leader, right? And getting that fight next. Also, Zerto just fought. He looked, he did what he had to do. I mean, he looked like he fought a complete can, but he did what he had to do. Boatsy's fighting a guy that kind of gave Bivol, some fits. He did some things. It was a competitive fight. If he could run through this guy like nothing and really make his claim for a Bivol fight, like I've said, I've saw Boatsy. Nothing has really ever stood out to me in any of his fights. He seems they're kind of boring. I mean, maybe that's why I'm just not paying attention enough to what he's doing. I will be paying attention to, I will really be paying attention to this fight because I want to know what he looks like. I think it's very important for the 175-pound division. This fight.
Again, I keep bringing up the belts, but for Bivol, the WBA, he has the WBA belt. The number one ranked fighter in the WBA is Zuldo Ramirez, who also fights on the zone. So there's no problems across the street. And, I'm pretty sure him fighting Zuldo, barring him fighting Canelo, would be used as a mandatory, which obviously will free him up from making potential fights with an undisputed fight with Beterbiev, winner of Beterbiev Smith. Whether that something has to negotiate with that, at least he'll take care of his mandatory, and that'll be clear. And it's also a fight the fans will be interested in. So I think that's more where he would go if hypothetically.
I love that fight, and that's the fight I want. Every time I bring it up, everybody's super negative about it. Everybody says it's not going to happen. That Eddie Hearn's never going to give Golden Boy that fight, and maybe they're right. I mean, honestly, no, they'll look like they're looking to help out Golden Boy in any way.
If the zone really wouldn't, what's the point of fighters fighting on the same network if they still only gonna fight in house? That makes no sense to me. If the zone doing that, no wonder they fucking going out of business.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either because that seems like a obvious fight to make, especially
it's a fun fight. Listen, it's a fun fight. Zurdo is Mexican, so he does have that draw. Mexicans do support their fighters. Bivol's a pretty unknown guy, but he just beat Canelo, so he's more known now. He just beat a Mexican fighter. He beats two Mexicans in a row. You could start billing, the Mexican killer. You can start, get creative and promote it that way. So that would be a stupid move by DAZN, and I'm speaking to the network, not necessarily the promoters. From the promoters' perspective, although I hate that they do this, I understand why they want to keep fights in-house, because if you lose a belt, it stays within your promotional company.
Exactly.
I get it. But from a network standpoint, if I'm DAZN, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm paying you guys. I'm paying you, Eddie Hearn. I'm paying you, Oscar De La Hoya. Make this fucking fight. It's a mandatory fight, and it's a good fight.
It makes all the sense to me to that fight to happen. The one thing I think is Eddie Hearn he knows that the Bivol fight versus Canelo will happen after Triple G. And if Bivol loses, he wants him to lose to his guy. So he still keeps it in-house with a Canelo fight. I think that even if, I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers are, a bunch of differing opinions on that. If they were the, the 300,000 or less, you definitely don't want to do a split promotion with Golden Boy. You know what I mean? On the, Zerto Canelo thing, because there's not enough money there to do that. So, I imagine it's Boatsy, because just in case Bivol lost, at least you still have Boatsy. You could do that fight in Europe, take Canelo over there to Europe, have a big gate, and I think might even generate the same amount of views as English guy that beat Bivol. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know if they want to split that revenue. And I think that's the biggest biggest hurdle for that fight. But to me, Zerto versus Bivol is the obvious choice. I think that's the
and And I want to see Zurdo in a competitive fight, man. I'm tired of seeing him fight fucking plumbers and fucking carpenters and then all these
Mhm.
guys. Like, come on, bro. Like, can I see you in a real fight? Everybody's saying that you use this boogeyman. At least Polo says that.
Well,
that you
yeah,
this
Polo and Vivi. I mean, Vivi has him as a elite fighter. You know what I mean? So, I think
I,
that's a little bit hyperbolic, but
I've never been too impressed with Zurdo. I'm not saying he's a bum. Don't get me wrong, because a lot of times on these Twitter Spaces, you say you're not impressed by a guy, you calling him a bum. It's like no. There's in between.
yeah, there's levels to it.
Yeah. So I've never been too super impressed with Zurdo, but I think Bivol beats him. But I would like to see the fight. One, he you know he's a pretty big guy, man. Like, so just off size and then the fact that he's has a fan base, it'll drum up a little bit of excitement, particularly like in a place like Texas or California where there's a large Mexican population. I would love to see it. I would love to see this fight.
Yeah, I think that's all. I think to me that's like business wise, entertainment wise, that's the fight to make, especially with Golden Boy getting the new deal with his own. It would all seem to work, but I have a feeling promotions, and De La Hoya bashing Eddie Hearn about making that Bivol fight with Canelo. I don't think that helped it either. So it's a lot of the rivalries and everything like that. It's going to get in the way of us seeing entertaining fights sometimes. But you can't really complain this year. So I'm not going to be negative about boxing this year.
No,
This
no,
year's
no.
been excellent. I'm going to praise boxing this year.
But
Still
all
little
right.
frustrations here and there.
I mean, there's one where I'm gonna complain about boxing, man.
Okay, let's
and
hear it.
and I've been on this motherfucker for the last year. Jaime Munguia, man, the biggest duck in boxing. I hate this motherfucker, man. This dude, when you talk about the cancer of the middleweight division, this guy was the mandatory for Boo Boo Andre. Didn't exercise it. He was in negotiation with Charlo for whatever reason. We're not gonna get into it, but the fight didn't happen. He could have or petitioned to fight Carlos Adames, who's ranked number 2 in the WBC, and Jaime Munguia is ranked number 1 in the WBC. So he could have petitioned to fight an eliminator and to fight for Charlo's belt. Didn't do that. He could have fought Janet back for the WBO interim fight and title, and he didn't take that. So it's like, and now he's fighting. Uh, I don't know what a waiter from Denny's. Like, what's up with your boy, man? Because every
No,
time
no, 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 no,
I,
no, no, no,
no,
no,
I
no,
bring him
no.
up on my channel, and you be trying to defend this guy, man.
No, no, no. Not I. Okay, not I. Now, what I did say, the one thing I did say, I explained why the Charlo fight didn't happen. And it was business. It wasn't. Miguel would have took the fight. I think Miguel was all for the fight. Business got involved. I think Golden Boy operated in a way that they were negotiating, but weren't really ever going to make that fight. That's what I think that would happen there. Now, I told you I'm not high on Miguel. I think he needs to step up. I agree with you 100% on that. I thought that I gave him enough time to build up. I thought this was when he was going to make his move. I thought he had a lot of options. I thought he could do Andrade fight. Thought he could, the Charlo one. I never really thought that was going to happen, but I thought he could do Andrade at worst, right? Or maybe even sneak in a Golovkin fight. They didn't go that way, and then they're going to do this fight that no one cares about. No one wants to see. No one thinks the guy has a chance, and they didn't even choose the name that, if you're going to go that way, that makes the most sense with Shane Mosley Jr. Right? They didn't even go that way, right? That fight would make more sense, and someone better come out really quick and announce that Shane Mosley Jr. is hurt. That's why that didn't happen, because that's what I need. That's the only thing that's going to get me from being not this pissed that we had to waste a fight. And I would Jaime Munguia fighting another tomato can, because that's what he's been fighting. He's been fighting Golden Boy guys who has the weakest roster of all the promotions, and they keep finding guys for him to fight. And I don't know why they keep doing this. I mean, it's it's clear the Golden Boys trying to protect their 3 assets, like I said, that they have. That's Vergil Ortiz, Ryan Garcia, and Munguia being the worst of the 3. I don't know, but I've never defended it. I've given maybe a little bit more patience, right, to this point, but now I'm done. And I thought that it should have been Shane Mosley Jr. If you're going to go this route. At least we know who he is. We're familiar with him. He has a backstory. It's his biggest opportunity yet. He's coming off his biggest win yet. And I honestly think that he boxed a little too well in that fight against Gabe Rosado, that they said, no, I'm not going to take that chance. That's what I feel about Munguia.
that's a long roundabout way, but to say, Broadway, you was right this whole time. I should have been listening to
But
you. That's a
I don't
long round.
remember I don't remember ever defending my guy. I think I even said he was trash on the first time we had the
Oh,
podcast. But it's all right.
you know what it is? I'm remembering you defending him not fighting Charlo.
I
That's
did defend that. I did defend that, but that wasn't him. I told you it was business wise. I didn't think it made sense business wise for Golden Boy.
yeah, nah. But I just wanted to slander his name on your podcast. I do it enough on mine. I literally have a duck, a toy duck that every time his name gets brought up, I show it to the camera. He is a disgrace to the middleweight division. He's been he's been Boo Boo's Andre mandatory since he moved up to the middleweight division. I want to say it was 3 years ago. So the guy has.
He also dug Janabek too, because if you
Yeah,
remember before all this, they were supposedly going to be in talks, right? Because they were going to make them a eliminator or whatever the hell it is. And all of a sudden, he got out of that conversation, and then they said, "Oh, okay, well, Charlo's going to happen." So then you couldn't be pissed at it because you were like, "Oh, well, Charlo's a good fight," and then of course that didn't happen, and then they say Daniel Jacobs is going to happen. So you're like, okay, at least it's a name, right? Daniel Jacobs, at least it's a name. And then that doesn't happen. And then that's what they do. They just slowly knock your expectations down to where it's absolutely nothing. It's slow. It doesn't do it. They don't do it drastically. Maybe it's a smart move. It's like slowly just like lower your expectations of what it's going to be.
listen to who Charlo's fighting, Selecki, and then although Selecki's not as bad as Kelly, but it's like the middleweight division. Like I could go without seeing it, man. If there was a division that they would say you can't watch for the next 2 years, I'd just be like, you know what, just make it the middleweight division. I'm all right with not seeing it. The one exception is Janabek, just so I could have I can know what I'm talking about when I come on the Ezra podcast.
It's probably next week. Honestly, is just going to be Janabek week, Janabek celebration week. It honestly might be.
Yo, I might buy you a fucking Kazakhstan flag just to hang up.
I'll wear with pride. I'll wear it with damn pride. Hey man, Broadway, I appreciate you doing this. Let me throw your page up real quick. Wait 1 second. I just learned how to screen share on this, so I'll slowly but surely.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yo, y'all all go over there, hit that subscribe button. Okay. I put up a lot of content. I haven't put as much content as I usually do due to the fact I just had a baby. But I go live every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I give people that chance to call in and click the link, and we can have a conversation whether you agree or disagree with me. I also do a lot of interviews. I interview a lot of Dominican fighters mostly, but I have interviewed American fighters like Michael Fox and Tevin Farmer, former IBF champion. And I also this Saturday, what's his name? Luis Reynaldo Nunez fights Jonathan Fierro. I will be interviewing Luis Reynaldo Nunez sometime in the near future. I just well, let's hope he wins. And
you gotta interview him either way. Honestly, you have to interview him either way. You have to interview him either way.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm gonna interview him. No, I'm just saying. Hopefully, he wins, and then he's still willing. Some fighters.
Yeah, I appreciate it. To me, interview is way more interesting off a guy off a loss. I love the negativity. I hope you attack him like a Jim Gray would. Attack him in that way, a negative way, and just really be negative about his performance, like exactly the way Jim Gray is. I think I really appreciate stuff like that.
When Elvis Rodriguez was on the show, and by the way, the same way you are about what's his name, Janabek, that's how I'm about Elvis Rodriguez, man. Like I think this kid is really, really good, but he has a loss. And I brought it up, and he was like, I rewatched it, and he looked really uncomfortable when I was asking those questions. And he again, out of all the Dominicans, he's my favorite Dominican fighter. But he looked really uncomfortable when I was asking him questions about that. I asked him questions about him being released by Top Rank. I asked him questions about does he think it had to do with something about race or about his nationality? So I was asking pretty uncomfortable questions. And again, he's one of my favorite fighters in all of boxing right now. But I'm not scared to ask the tough questions, because the worst thing you could do is say no comment or get angry and get off the live, and shit. That's an answer in itself right there. So uh, yeah, win or lose, I'll have him on the show and I'll ask the tough questions. Which by the way, I need you to have Polo on, man, and ask him the tough questions.
If I told Polo we got to do a podcast, he goes, "Oh, I'm down." I go, "What time are you free?" No response. Then I'd be like, "Hey, Polo, we gonna do a podcast tomorrow?" "I'm down. What time are you free?" No response. I don't know what happened. And Polo, this is a friendly place for Polo. He was my unofficial co-host. This is like, if you're gonna do something to get back in the public eye or the boxing Twitter eye, this is the place to go. I'm gonna give him some softballs. I'll get in there. I'll ask the things that people want, but I'll start them off slow. I'll ease them into it.
Yo, man, he's not handling that Canelo loss well at all, man.
What he needs to do is like, okay, because the thing is, Polo has a lot of knowledge about boxing. That's the thing that's underappreciated. But he's so biased, he can't see past his heart. It gets him in situations where it's like people want to say that he doesn't know about boxing, but it's just biasness, right? It's just that he wants to see it in one direction, but he has a lot of knowledge about boxing. He has a great memory.
He knows boxing for sure. I would never ever say it's just like you said. He's really biased, and then when you try to call him out on his bias, like let's just say he thinks Munguia could beat fucking prime Marvin Hagler. Let's just say I'm making it up. He never said. I'm just as an example. And you try to tell him like Polo, there's no way that would happen. His response is always, "Bro, you never know. You never know." Upsets happen in boxing. Look at TOK also. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, you just saying that he's Mexican. Like, you wouldn't say that it was the other way around.
That's what I'm saying. My goal is like 3 years from now, right? I have Polo on here and I have everything, and I just keep working with him, and he rides the middle like I am, right? Because if Polo just can release the biasness, right, and could just see the world for what it actually is, and just not be a flag waver, right? Waving the flag. I think that this is a very sharp boxing fan. I think this is going to be a very knowledgeable boxing fan and a guy that could give honest and good opinions, but he just got to get past his biasness. I think it's because of being young. I think too, and it's sometimes maybe we all have it. I mean, I'm literally talking to the voice of Dominican boxing right here, so it is what it is.
No, but like I said, I've never been unreasonable with my takes.
Very reasonable.
I've never said I think Elvis Rodriguez could beat Josh Taylor right now. I've never said that. I've never said Michelle Rivera could beat, fucking Ryan Garcia. I've never said that. I'm pretty, comfortable with my. I'm pretty unbiased when it comes to my opinions. At least I try to think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think no, definitely. I think if people that ride the middle, you're definitely one of the ones that's right there in the middle with me.
I agree. But by the way, getting back to Polo did hit me up, by the way, and told me that he wants help building his YouTube page up. So
yeah, I told him he needs to get on there. I told him he needs to get. I know it's not for everyone. I get that. Like I remember I was watching one of yours, and you asked Vivi, and I think Vivi would be very good having a YouTube page. I think Vivi's very knowledgeable. I think he has very interesting points. I think he'd be very funny at times too.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah, I think that he'd be good, but he said something. Vivi's actually very smart too. I don't know if you're not boxing Twitter, you're maybe not familiar with him, but he's a very smart guy. And he said that he kind of works better off other people's energy, right? He doesn't do good maybe by himself talking to thing. That's a very smart thing, very self-aware thing to acknowledge, right? Of that. So some people, it's not for everyone. I always want to see, because I think there's a lot of interesting opinions. I want to see people have a YouTube page. I think Polo could be very good at it. It's just it's hard taking that leap into to start doing it.
But he hit me up. He's like, "Yo, bro, like I see the way you do your page. I like it. I want to start one. I need you to help me out." I told him for sure. Just let me know. And that's what I always tell anybody who hits me up. Like, "Yo, I need help." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm willing to help in any way, shape, or form." Just
look at Truth. I mean, Truth hit the ground running with his page and everything. So
yeah, man. I helped Truth a lot. Truth, he's now doing his videos, and hopefully it goes well for him. Another guy who hit me up to help him with his page is Ty. Ty, he had a page. He told me.
Yeah,
And he
I thought
stopped.
Ty already had one.
Yeah, he stopped, but then he hit me up and he was like, "Man, like I want you to help me out." I was like, "Yeah, let me know whatever you need. I'll help you out with." And he just never got back to me. You know
Yeah.
who I want to start a YouTube page? I'm sorry. Am
No,
I?
no, go ahead. No, no, go
Oh,
ahead. Keep going.
nah, you were trying to end the show. I'm over here
No, no,
having.
no, no, no. Keep going.
Yeah. I had so for the day for Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, Jake Donovan came to New York, and so me and him, we just sparked up a conversation, and he jokingly said, "Yo, bro, if you want to pick me up from the airport, just let me know." And I was like, I knew he was joking. I was like, "Ah, yeah, whatever." And then I was like, "Was he not joking?" So I hit him back up. I was like, "Bro, were you not joking? Like, I would pick you up. I don't give a fuck." And he was like, nah, he crazy. Nah, I was just joking. This time the third, but and then he was like, "Well, if you want, you could pick me up." So I was like, "All right, fuck it." So I picked him up from the airport. By the way, he's the vice president of the Boxing Writers
Yeah,
Association.
yeah.
Yeah, so I picked him up. I dropped him off, and we had like a cool ass conversation. He stood at a hotel in a fucking dangerous ass neighborhood here in New York. I was like, "Bro, here's my number. You call me if you need me." But by the way, I got a funny story on that. But anyways, so I dropped him off, and then so the day before the fight, he hits me up. He's like, "Yo, bro, like let's go out for some drinks." So we went out for some drinks, and I was talking to him. I was like, "Bro, you need a podcast, man." I was like, "You need something like where you can monetize. Like, I understand you're a writer, but you have all these connections, bro. Just get a camera set up. It's pretty inexpensive, spend
he
$1,000. It's not the
he
end of the
can't though,
world."
huh? Contractually, I don't think he can, if I remember correctly, of something he
No,
responded to.
no, that's not what he told me. He was
Oh,
just kind of
really?
like, yeah, he was kind of like, yeah, I thought about it. I was like, bro, you have way more connections than me, like endless, and I was like, you can have all these people on the podcast and make money that way, man, make some passive income on your YouTube. And he just kind of
Yeah.
he seemed receptive to it, but kind of like he didn't know where to start, and that's kind of how
What
the conversation ended. I didn't press him too much.
he has that thing now on Saturdays with Lefty, and that thing is like a must listen to if you
Yeah.
are if
If
you
you were
want.
real, yeah,
Exactly. If you're a real boxing fan, you want to know all the in and outs, all the rumors, because I love rumors. Like rumors is the best thing ever to me. And he has like he literally will stay there for about hour and a half to 2 hours, just answering on any fighter you have. Like, what are they doing? And he'll have information on it. Like you will have you'll leave that space like, damn, there's so much information I now have that I can like look into and now understand the workings of what's going on. So he's really, really good on that. That's smart of Lefty to get that. They need to figure out a way to monetize that. That'll be the next step. But
yeah.
that was really good. And he's also on a podcast that I just happened to someone posted it or I came across. I don't remember how. And it's about the Kinahan situation. He did it. It's a crime podcast on Spotify. If you just look up Jake Donovan, it'll come up. And he does like a complete breakdown of how Kinahan got into boxing, how it's affecting boxing, how people aren't covering it. It's he's obviously a pro when it comes to this, and he could be, I think he'd be really good on a podcast.
He's an elite reporter.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
he's an elite reporter. Quick funny story, right? So
All
I
right.
dropped off Jake Donovan right at this fucking hotel. The hotel's a nice hotel. It's in like the thing is with New York is like New York is like you'll be walking 2 blocks in the nicest neighborhood, and then you walk into one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America. Like
Yeah, it's so
it's very,
compact.
yeah, it's very like quick, like how quick things turn. So
Okay.
where he's staying at, well, was staying at, I guess he's not staying there now. I could say where he was staying. He was staying across the street from Madison Square Garden. Now you would think, right?
I would
This
think
is a
that'd be
safe.
very nice.
You would think this is a safe area, right? You
Yeah.
from New York, like Madison Square Garden. This is one of the amount of fucking heroin addicts and crackheads that are in that area is insane. So I told him, I'm like, and he's from New York, so he knew what I was talking about. I was like, bro, like this area. He was, no, I know. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, yo, you needed my number, like you to call me if anything gets crazy like that, so I could rectify any situation. So he's like, yeah, like I got you, whatever. So he's like, not too worried about it. He's like, no, bro, I'm a native New Yorker too. although I haven't lived here in like 10, 15 years, whatever, however long, I'm still, I still know the area. So I was like, all right, cool. So I dropped them off. So I drive. I'm 3 blocks away from the hotel. I just dropped him off. And there's a fucking crackhead with nunchucks, swinging it at some guy. Not swinging it, but kind of like, oh, I would hit you, motherfucker. Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah, like the threading.
like a threat, right? And
Yeah.
the guy he's doing it to is like 6'4", 260, 270. Like the guy was pretty big, like really, really big. And the guy with the nunchucks, he was like 760 pounds. So I'm like, what the fuck? So the big guy, he's just staring at him like not scared at all. But then the smaller guy with the nunchucks ends up getting like really close on him. So the big guy just pulls out a knife and starts chasing this guy. This is 2 blocks from where Jake Donovan is staying. And I was like, oh my God, like, why is this guy staying here? Like, who did he piss off at boxing scene that this is the fucking hotel they put him in?
I'll be honest with you. If someone told me like you're staying across from the what the hell's the Mass Square Garden, I'd be like, that's beautiful. Can't wait.
No, bro. No. Listen,
that's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is not like in the daytime, it's a lot of hustle and bustle. So you'll see the heroin addicts, you'll see the crackheads, but not much happens because there's so many people. And if something does, there's a lot of police activity.
But at night, it's probably like insane.
Yo, that shit is sketchy as fuck. Like, listen, I'm a native New Yorker, and I don't go around that. One, there's not really much there at that time, anyways. But I don't be roaming around that area. And if I was around that area for whatever reason, I would be on point. No headphones in my ear. I would be looking around over my shoulder. It's a really sketchy area, man.
Well, that's freaking hilarious. It's also I don't understand nunchucks. I don't get how that was they have to be the most useless fighting weapon of all time. Nunchucks. Not only like I feel like it's not a threat, but it's also like it takes like a master to actually use them probably correctly. It probably takes like years of mastering. You know what I mean? Like a gun and a knife are so much easier, right? Or even just a stick. Like a stick, you don't need that much skill with. But nunchucks, like it's almost pointless.
I'll take a fucking pipe, and you could keep the nunchucks.
Yeah, you can give me a master with the guy with nunchucks, and I'll just pick up whatever the hell I could get. Like I have right here, just like a plastic cactus. I'll take that over some damn nunchucks. I could do some damage with that. The nunchucks is the stupidest weapon. It's the dumbest weapon. I don't know who the hell came up with that. That was a stupid idea.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But you know what's funny? My mom, she had a boyfriend when I was younger, and he knew how to use nunchucks. He was actually like a really cool guy. He knew like karate and shit. And he was trying to teach me some things. And he had nunchucks, and I was like, "You know how to use this?" And he just like, "Yeah." And he did like a bunch of tricks. He would like, throw it over his shoulder, throw it in the air, catch it, flip it over his between his legs. So it looks cool. I don't know how effective it is.
Honestly, it's probably as equal like as effectiveness in a self-defense as like the guy that has a sign that says like sale down the street. You know what I'm talking about? You know the guys that stand on the corner and they're like, yard sale or going out of business sale.
Flipping like,
flipping the sign.
20% on your insurance.
If those guys fought each other, I don't know who comes out on top. Like nunchucks versus the guy that's like flipping the sign. I don't know who comes out on top on that. To me, it's a good fight. That's a fair fight. I watch it 100 times out of 100.
That's hilarious. I don't know either.
All right, Broadway. I appreciate you doing this, man. I know how hard it is to get away or get even some free time to do something like this, especially, just having a baby. So I appreciate it, man. Of course, I'll have you on whenever you're free, or you're always welcome here.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for doing it.
No, I appreciate you for having me on. I like what you're doing. I've listened to every single podcast you've done, even sometimes I can't catch it live. If I missed one, I throw my headphones on, go to the gym and listen to it. Or while I'm cleaning the house, I got my headphones on, I'm listening. I haven't missed one show. You're doing great. Shout out to Polo who comes on, and you guys be having a good conversations, and you're doing good, man. Keep doing it, and I guarantee you're gonna pay off.
That's my whole mentality, man. I'm gonna treat it like a farmer. Just every day, I got to do some work, and I'm imagining good things are gonna happen. So I appreciate the support, man, and like I said, appreciate you coming on.
All right, man. Anytime,
All
bro.
right. Peace.
All right. Peace.